All right, all right, all right. Let's see where everyone is at. Welcome, welcome, welcome to our first official call. We met last week. We went through all of the things, the logistics of it all. So I owe you guys some stuff. We had a little bit of a scare here, so it kind of threw us off with a loved one going into the hospital. So I am going to post all of the videos, all of your personal videos for those that we've met one-on-one and we've gone through your human design and done all of those things. And then, let's see, I'm just getting a couple more text messages here. Let's see where everybody's at. Okay. Okay, so you're gonna get a video. I'm gonna send you guys emails with a link to your separate Gmail account. I'm also gonna include in there a list of all the where you could find all the things like we talked about last class. So in the drive, you're gonna each have your own little area until I'm able to upload everything into the portal. And so be on the lookout for that. The thing that I wanted to just ask anybody before we step into our breathing is anybody need anything? Questions, comments, statements over last class? All right. All right, perfect. So let's dig deep. We're gonna just go into our breathing. Okay, we're gonna breathe in for 4. And I want you to hold it. 3, 4, and now exhale it out. So we're breathing in the good. We're exhaling all that bad. Keep breathing that out. Go deep. And we're going to breathe in again. 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold it. And breathe it out. 2, 3, 4. Really engage that diaphragm, those abs. Okay, breathe in one more time and expand those lungs. Hold it. Breathe out. One last time. Breathe in. Hold it. Breathe out. All right, now that you're centered, we have an amazing call today. Today we're going to talk about, then I just got one more text. All right, so if you're catching this on the replay, just know to get into Telegram and ask me any and all questions that may come up for you today. I'm going to be sharing my screen, so make sure that if you're listening to this, you're actually listening to it, watching the screen too. It's okay if you don't, but it probably will just help you. And then, all right. So let's just get started because we got some limited time and we got a lot of stuff to do. All right. So I'm sharing my screen with y'all. And it's going to be this one here. It should be the only thing on your screen. All right. And so what we're going to talk about today is the art of consistent attraction. It's what had you all show up here and say yes to this membership. And we're going to talk about why forcing pushes things away. So the homework for last session was to start looking at areas of life that are not working as well as you want them to. So everybody identify at least one area that you want to just work on as we go through. All right. So when we talk about pushing things away, I want you to think about a situation where you gave it your all, where you did all the things, where you changed things up. Oh, let me try this. Let me try that. And no matter what you did, no matter what you did, the harder you pushed, the more it seemed to just slip from your fingers. The more you tightened your grip, the quicker it all fell apart. Right? And the reason why I'm bringing this up, like the way attraction works, right? We're talking about rewiring our energy, realigning, is because attraction does not respond to force. It responds to energy alignment. So today we're going to start, and we're going to start by talking about the art of consistently attracting. And so, and why, when we force things, when we try to get a specific outcome, instead of being the outcome, we're actually pushing away that one thing that you desire the most, and you keep pushing it away further and further and further from you, right? Everybody experience that? Okay. So it all starts with the nature of attraction. So the thing is that, like we talked about last class, energy doesn't lie, right? Attract attracts like. So we want to be in the energy that's going to attract all the stuff that we want, right? It's the law of attraction. So if you read anything about it, you will know that the energy you give off is what you get back in turn. So I want you to think about a time where you walked into a house and you're like, I'm not staying here, right? Like, these are not my people. I have an example where I was going through some stuff. I went to a retreat in Burlington, and I was going through some really heavy emotional stuff. And I was with this really great supportive group, but I literally, and some of you may have heard this before, but I literally sat down, we were at the table, and I kind of just, the bartender was all annoyed that we were there. We actually couldn't get a table, so we all lined up at the bar. There was like 8 of us. So we just filled the bar. And at first we were denied a table. They said, we can't seat you today. So one of the girls, who's kind of a genius, said, okay, well, I'm by myself. I'm just going to go and sit at the bar. So before you know it, we all followed suit and we all went solo by ourselves and we sat at the bar. Well, the bartender kind of caught on to what we were doing. Like, we were okay not being at a table, but we still wanted to be served. And she got an attitude. And she sat there and, like, reluctantly put a glass of water in front of all of us. And I kind of remember, like, looking at her and, like, feeling like, why are you being like that? Like, you're still going to make money from us. Like, why are you treating us this way? Because we sat at your bar. Don't you want a full bar? And, like, she literally took her time, served everybody else, didn't come and even ask us if we wanted anything else. She just handed us the menus, the water. And I sat there and I'm like, this is wrong. Like, you're not making me feel welcomed. And the old me would have just sat there. I would have tried to do small talk, try to make the bartender laugh, try to kind of like change her perception of what just happened. And this time I'm like, you know what? I'm dealing with my own way of how I'm feeling a certain way. I do not have the capacity to take on her emotions too. So that's a key thing, because a lot of times we think that we are going to go through our day and we're going to be able to manage all the things. And so we're like this hamster on a wheel where we're not dealing with our emotions. We're trying to push through life. We don't want to deal with anything we have to deal with. And then people come around us and they start dumping on top of us even more. Everybody relate to that? Super heavy. completely overwhelming. You literally do not want to even deal, and you just start shutting down. Once I recognized that my people pleasing actually had me be in this cycle where I just kept taking on more and more and more and more from everybody else because I didn't want to make anybody feel bad. And maybe I'm the miracle that's going to make them feel better, right? That whole martyr thing comes in. So that was my old story. I'm not that person anymore. And in the moment, I'm able to recognize, yeah, I'm not doing that. So here I am at this bar. I have a glass of water. I have a menu. And I'm surrounded by people that have an attitude. The energy of the place was completely off because we weren't welcomed. So I sat there, and in that moment, I'm like, I have a choice. I could sit here and allow this person that's behind the bar, who's supposed to be of service to me, change my energy state, or I could say no. So I turned to one of my friends and I said, I'm leaving. I turned to the other 6 people that are there. I'm like, sorry, guys, I'm out. And I literally left the menu. I left the water. I got up from my seat. I told the bartender, I'm like, you know what? I'm good. I'll see you later. And I walked out. And everybody's like, where's she going? And I'm going to be honest with you, I didn't care. So then I walk up the street. Burlington is super cute. It's got like a whole bunch of like brick buildings. It has this whole courtyard that usually has a huge Christmas tree at one end, right? So there's this all cute little shops and outdoor seating areas because it was a warm day. And I see another group from the retreat sitting there and having dinner. So they start waving me over. And I was like, okay, maybe. Now, mind you, I'm still trying to sort out all these feelings that I have going on inside right now. But I'm like, you know what? Maybe they're going to make a difference for me and change my state, or maybe get me some clarity by talking it through. So I'm walking and I sit down at the head of a table. There's another 5 women sitting there. And I just looked around and I'm like, nope. And I'm like, sorry, guys, I gotta go. The second time in my life, I got up from a full table of people who had my best interest at heart. And I'm like, I gotta go. So I get up, didn't care, and I started walking. And then I found this cute little Mediterranean place that had the corner table, like the perfect setting underneath a tree. It was like beautiful dishes. It like just called to me. And I sat down and I had one of the best meals I've ever had. The waiters were super kind. Everybody was kind of like talking to me like cordially. They were really kind. And I had this gorgeous meal of Mediterranean food. And I was able to complete and I was able to process whatever it was that was coming up for me because I said no to all the things that were not in alignment. And if I didn't choose myself in that moment, it probably would have taken me a lot longer to sort through the feelings that I was sorting through. So when you think about that energy doesn't lie, you're the one that's reading the energy. So if that energy does not jive with you, and if everybody else is okay with it, be okay that you're not okay, right? You don't have to please anybody but yourself. So if you're constantly in this energy of being okay with it not feeling good, right? So you're putting up with energy of lack. You're putting up with energy that you're chasing it. You're putting up with energy of gripping tight to something because you're afraid to lose it, like energy of fear. Then you're going to keep attracting the same type of energy. It may look similar, it may look completely different, but it's going to have the same intention on who you are because it mirrors back to you. Energy mirrors back to you. So if you are consistent with choosing energy that lightens you up, that pulls you up, lifts you up, you're going to start building trust for yourself. And when you start trusting yourself that you're going to make the right choice for yourself, even if later down the road you recognize that was a mistake, because we can always pivot to something different once we recognize that. But that consistency will build trust. That trust will create stability. The stability will create momentum. And then the momentum will create the energy of what you're trying to attract. You're ultimately putting out there the energy that you're ready, you're available, and you trust what is coming. So when we talk about attracting, it's not by force, it's by flow. And it happens when you are acutely aware of how energy is impacting you. So let's talk about the opposite, right? So when you are forcing things, you're going to push things away. You're creating resistance to the energy. The more you push, the more life will push back. So when you are pushing for a specific outcome to look a specific way, so I want you guys to think about one of my girlfriends used to have a list of 58 different traits that she wanted her ideal man to have. And she would literally go through the list every single time that she wanted to size up what this person was. What was his job? How much money? Do they have kids? Right? Like go down the list, right? And so by doing that, by not having it conform to a specific outcome, she was creating resistance. And when you create resistance, you start signaling scarcity. If I don't make this happen, it won't happen. If I don't get this to look a certain way, it's not going to be good. If it's not perfect, it's not worth it. All of those conversations are scarcity. So you're actually standing in the fear and not the faith. So you're doing the opposite, even though some people think that that's how to obtain something is to just keep pushing through, keep hustling through it, right? But why we don't want to do that is we're going to ultimately burn ourselves out. We're not going to get the outcome. Or even say by some miracle, the outcome shows up exactly the way that you wanted to, which is sometimes not possible, especially when you're in force. Then you're going to end up being exhausted, not magnetic. You're going to be sitting there like completely depleted, right? So the very thing that you want is that the energy that you're feeling and that you're putting out is exactly what you're going to want to get back. Okay. So this is when we start talking about the art of consistent attraction, right? Consistency is different. Consistency is rooted in clarity and calm power. So last week when I asked you guys, think about an area that's not working as well as you want it to. Well, then what the next step to that is, well, what do you want? So let's get clear on it. And the reason is clarity will lead to intention, will lead to aligned actions, which will allow you to release your outcome of how your attachment, right? And then you'll be open to receiving. So we do this by getting clear on what we want, right? So think about it right now. We could do this in real time. Get clear on something that you want. And I want you to get, the clarity comes from actually feeling it, right? So like let me think about what I want. One of the things that I want for myself is to be healthy, which I am, but also really strong and capable, right? And feeling good in my body, because right now my body's gone through a lot and it really hurts, right? So what I really want is to feel strong and healthy. And I know what that feels like because I've been where I haven't felt that, right? So my intention that I'm going to set on that is that I'm going to put forward a healthier lifestyle where I'm going to be able to make myself strong and healthier, right? So that small aligned action daily for me consists of 45 minutes of exercise a day. And it has to be something that I like, because if I like it, I'm going to do it. So I'll schedule 3 hikes. We're in Vermont right now, so I'm going to schedule 3 hikes up the mountain. I'm also going to schedule 3 yoga classes so I could stretch in between those vigorous hikes, right? I'm also going to schedule meditating 10 minutes a day, journaling for 10 minutes a day, reading 10 pages of a book. And it doesn't matter if it's fiction or nonfiction, that doesn't matter, right? Because that's part of my morning routine. And it's what keeps me consistent. So when I'm consistent, I'm aligned energetically. When I'm aligned energetically, I'm going to get and I'm going to attract what I want. See how it works? So get clear on what you want. Choose one thing right now. And I want you to set a powerful intention around it, being like, I am the healthiest version of myself, and I am strong, and I am flexible. That's the other word that comes to mind for me, because right now my back is not flexible, right? My daily aligned actions is I'm going to go to the spa. We have a hot tub and a sauna every day for 10 minutes. I'm going to do 3 hikes a week. I'm going to do yoga 3 times a week, and then I'm going to have a rest day. And I'm going to schedule that in my calendar. I'm going to be very clear on what that looks like. And now that the intention is set, I know what my goal is, I know what my aligned actions are, then it's like the pressure is off because I trust myself that I'm going to do it. Because I've been consistent this far in doing it. I have no proof and evidence that I'm not going to do it. And so once I know and I have trust in myself that I'm going to be doing that, I am open to receiving. So even more, I'm going to be attracting even more things into my life. Oh, red light therapy might just automatically appear, right? I might meet a group of people that like to hike up the mountain with me. Make sense? Okay. So the next part about this is then your mindset here is what's going to create the flow. So if you are in that scarcity, fear mindset, it's going to be hard. I'm going to wake up and I'm going to be like, it's cold out. I don't want to go for that walk. My body hurts. My back hurts. As opposed to, I know that if I go for this walk, I'm going to actually loosen my body up and my back's not going to hurt as much, because then I'm going to go in the sauna and I'm going to go in the hot tub and it's going to relax my muscles, right? So there are 3 powerful shifts that are going to change this conversation of whatever you're struggling with right now. And it's going to lead you from desperation to devotion. And when you're really devoted to something, meaning that it is a non-negotiable, it's part of who you are. There's no thinking about it. You just do it. When you are devoted to yourself and your well-being, then there's a calm trust and it's just steady. Like there's no question about it, right? So think about you're devoted to work. You show up every day. You're steady. You may not be calm though about it. That depends on the mindset, right? And you may not be happy about it. But you're consistent. You show up. Otherwise, you wouldn't have a job, right? Another way to look at it is that you're going from control to surrender, meaning I don't know what my hikes are going to look like, but I don't know if I'm going to make it to the top. I'm going to try, right? I'm going to give myself a scheduled time, but there are a lot of factors, right? There's literally bears. If there is a bear that's crossing my path, I may not make it to the summit, right? It might start to rain. And it doesn't mean that I'm not going to be committed. I am. But being committed and pushing through when you know it's not in alignment energetically is also a negative. So what we want to also do is whatever this thing is that you are wanting to attract to yourself, control is also about time. So we have to surrender to the timeline. You just got to stand in the trust that it's going to show up. The same is true from fear to faith, right? As consistency, as if you really become consistent in it, it's second nature. It's kind of like riding a bike. The first time you rode a bike, you were really fearful you're going to fall. And now every time you get on a bike, you just know that you're going to be able to do it. You have faith that you're going to be able to balance. The bike's going to go down. The wheels are going to work. The chain's going to stay intact. So like we have to stand in devotion for whatever we want to create, that it's going to happen and that there's no deadline to it, right? So if we talk about practical implications, right? I want you to start looking at, I like to first look at where I'm being negative because sometimes that's the easiest for me to spot, right? So look at your conversations. Where are you showing up positively? Where are you showing up negatively? The conversation that we always have in this house is perspective versus perception, right? And this is my definition. Perspective is how you're looking at it. Whereas perception is like, okay, I know I'm looking at it that way. However, what am I going to do with it now? Right? Your perspective is like something happened and you get to choose if you look at it positive or negatively. Right? So my perspective on getting cancer was, well, first it was a negative. And then the positive is it actually led me to be here with you today. This never would have happened if I didn't see the positive in what my situation was, that I got to choose myself, that I, created a healthy life. I had to change my mindset. I had to change my energy. And my perception around that is gratitude over being able to do it. And it all happened. We are here today because I've consistently showed up for myself and for you. Right? And so if you have questions around this, this is what the whole Telegram channel is for. Right? I'm going to invite everybody. I'm going to send the link. It's going to be in this document that I keep promising that I'm going to send you. I promise I'm going to do it. But this is where we can have these conversations as things come up. Like, oh my gosh, I just had this happen to me. How else could I have been in alignment with my energy for a positive? Because my immediate reaction was a negative. And it doesn't mean that everything in your life is always going to be positive. Yeah, it's a muscle. We got to build it. But there's certain situations where you're just automatically going to go negative. But this is why we have the community to be like, guys, I am literally cannot see my way out of this one. I can't see the positive. And regardless of political beliefs, I'm not a political person. I don't want to get into it. However, there was something that happened yesterday that has people in two different things, right? But if you are a believer of being a good human, part of that foundation is forgiveness. And I think it was yesterday, Charlie Kirk's wife went online to millions of people and forgave the person who murdered her husband. I bring that up because it is such an incredible example of somebody standing in their own faith and trust that they will be strong enough to deal with whatever is going to come their way. Because most of the people would be very angry and fearful, very angry to the person who completely turned their life upside down. Right? So like that's standing in faith of like, life is going to be okay. We're going to get through it. Right? So one of the things that I want you guys to ask yourself is, where are you forcing something right now? Whether it's in your life or your business, your work, your relationships, like what does that look like? Where are you in that I need to get this done mode? I need to get this specific outcome. I will not rest until I have it. And then ask yourself, what would consistency without pressure look like? If you could be consistent in some actions that support you in this area that's not going as well as you want it to, what would be one thing that you can do that has you do it happily, freely, without make wrong, without pressure, that it shows up on your calendar and you're like, yeah, all right, let's go. And so that one thing where you're like, okay, I would love to do this because it'll get me closer to what I want to achieve. That one small aligned action is what I want you guys to take on for the next 7 days. It doesn't need to be anything big. It could be something really small. But I want you to get consistent with it. So someone that's in this group said, I just cannot be on social media. I need to stop. I need to break social media. It's really difficult for me. So that small aligned action can be like maybe only looking at social media 10 minutes a day, right? Because they scroll at night and then they don't get to sleep. Or maybe lights out at 8:30, right? And for 7 days straight, lights out at 8:30, no exception, right? And why we're doing this is because this aligned action, this really small thing, if the universe and everything in it is all connected, you getting in alignment with this one thing that you're going to declare is going to have you loosen that grip, not be so forceful, and you're going to start trusting yourself in this area. So the lesson for today and next week's is going to be after you go and you implement all of this, we're going to talk about wins. We're going to talk about how it worked, what didn't work. We're going to deep dive into it. We're going to get really solid in this foundation of consistency here. And it's because attraction thrives on consistency, not force, right? It's like when you plant a garden, you don't yank the seed out to see if it's rooting. You water it, you nurture it, you give it sunlight. You might even talk to it, but you trust the process that nature's got you, right? So today I'm inviting everyone to stop pushing and start allowing. Take one thing, be really consistent at it, go full devotion on it. And I'm really excited to see what you say next week on our call as to what happened around that. Comments, questions, statements. Helpful? Anybody willing to share in Telegram what they're going to create? Anybody need help identifying what they want to create, what they're going to take on? We have a few more minutes because so I will tell you what I'm doing. 7 days. I'm going to do 3 hikes. I'm going to do 3 yoga. I'm going to go to the sauna, spa daily. I'm going to journal. I'm going to read. I know, but that's part of my morning routine, what I'm telling you guys, right? But this 3 hikes, this yoga is what's new for me. And I'm just sharing with you my morning routine. And then it's lights out by 8:30. No electronics at 8:30 is what I do. So I am adding 3 yoga sessions. Or actually, you know what? I'm going to do 10 minutes of yoga a day. So it's for 7 days. That's what I'm adding. See how like you don't have to be, you could be fluid about it. As you kind of talk through it, you're like, okay, you know what? That actually doesn't work. I want it to look like that instead. I have a worksheet for you guys that I'm going to download. This call is going to get downloaded to, as well. And then we're going to, we could chat about it. And if you have not scheduled a one-on-one call with me that was included in this, please do, so we could go through your human design so you could learn more about yourself. Since we have a couple of minutes, Michelle, were you willing to talk about what that human design experience was for you? For those that haven't gone through it yet. Oh, you just on mute.
Yeah, I just wanted to, because my dogs are getting a little crazy. Wow. So, oh my gosh, so many things about what you're saying is just blowing my mind. And again, some of the stuff that you just talked about, as far as setting like a schedule and everything. Well, last week I was I was on vacation, but I still had to work, and I did very diligent work. It ended up sending me to the hospital, but regardless, I did do everything I said I was going to do, and I kind of over excelled is what I'm saying. But anyway, which is fun because sometimes you're not supposed to do 3.7 miles every single day and sweat your butt off before you're, and then the day that you're going to be at a conference for 2 days at a casino and there's not going to be water regularly, like probably not the smartest thing. But anyway, human design, recognizing my traits. I mean, you hit it spot on. Spot on. Um, and just understanding who I am and what I am, and you nailed every aspect. Like I'm on the phone with my daughters, and I'm like, Oh my God. She like read, like, it's funny how your human design, like, really, honestly, is so a part of who you are, and what makes you who you are. And it's, as I'm getting older, and, I'm on the other side of my 50s, 56, and I definitely recognize who I am. I know myself well. I'm learning more every day, but just the way I experience life and the way I live my life, and the fact that you were able to, pinpoint so many things about my life and what's working, what's not working, and just who I am, in general. And I'm looking forward to you sending me that paper, because again, when we were having our discussion, it was so meaningful and happy. And again, it's, you just pegged me for everything that I am. And it was interesting, just to have someone else understand me, because I don't know if anyone ever has, the way I understand myself, because I know who I am, obviously. And no one's ever said, oh, this is you, this is you, this is your human design. It's always just like, oh, well, you're type A. Oh, you're, high energy. You're this, you're that. It's like, yeah, but I mean, there's benefits to that, and there's a reason for it. And then once you understand that, it kind of makes sense.
Yeah. So, and I love that. Thank you for sharing that. So
Yeah.
one of the things that I loved about human design as well is it allowed me language for me to communicate what I couldn't figure out how to communicate. Meaning, when things aren't in alignment for me, right? If I'm going into my people pleasing, if I'm going into my overachieving, right? I get frustrated. And part of my out of alignment word that they gave me was frustration. And I didn't really put two and two together until I saw that I'm like, I do get frustrated when I feel I'm getting taken advantage of, or I'm overextending myself. The other one that came up for me that I used to always make myself wrong for, but it's part of my design. I'm a manifesting generator. As a manifesting generator, what I do is I will bop into a conversation, like I'll drop in, I'll have my conversations, I'll do what I need to do. I get the information that I need in order to move forward. And then I'm like, see you later. I peace out and I leave. So a lot of times I don't stay there in the long haul. So what that looks like is like I'm a little social butterfly. I go from person to person to person, right? I'm like a bee pollinating. And I used to make myself wrong that I felt like I wasn't giving people the time. Maybe there was something else that I could have served them with, or I could have learned from them. But it acknowledged that when I feel that I am complete with a conversation or I got what I needed, I just move on. And so it validated for me this part of me that I used to always make myself wrong for.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, that's just part of who I am.
Yeah, but that's who you are. That's how you're built. That's your human design. Yeah, so it made it clear, the clarity that it sets in your brain, like, okay, yeah,
Exactly. And so
yeah,
and so I was able to release the bad part of it, where feeling like there was something wrong with me,
yeah,
right?
exactly. Yeah, no, you do. You think, okay, everybody says, yeah, exactly. It's everybody says that you're so like hyped up, you're this, you're that, you're whatever, and you're like, well, that's just who I am. It's not a bad thing. And if we're friends, you accept me for who I am. And again, this is my human design. I'm not someone who it not, I'm different than everybody. We're all different from each other, and that's what makes us human and different. And not anybody, nobody's the same. Some people have the same traits and similar traits, but it kind of gives you a calming effect, in the sense that, like, okay, this is the way I was made. The fact that I have, like, the color hair, or the skin, or my eye color, like, you have to look at it that way. Like, you can't just always put certain traits that you have of the way you were made. Now, again, you can always learn to change or to adapt to situations so that way you're perceived in a different way, maybe a better way. And learning, again, this is again how you're helping us, learn to be probably accepted in a way that maybe we haven't been accepted for. Because sometimes my biggest thing with the homework, honestly, if you want me to share, is, you know, I love for people to know who I am and to create a version of myself that attracts, not just a man I'm worthy for, that's worthy for me, but to get my point across and stop being so misunderstood. People misread me all the time and think I maybe I'm being aggressive, or maybe I'm being, a certain way, when I'm not. It's just the way I communicate. So
So then that's the thing to, you said something first. As a generator, you're going to be more extrovert, right?
yeah,
Like, because
yeah,
as a generator, you generate the opportunities, the energy, right?
yes,
And so the one thing that we need to be responsible for is, okay, how do I want to be perceived? And where is their attachment versus where is their me just being me?
yeah,
And once you're able to recognize, like, because we all have learned behavior,
yeah,
right? We all have a winning formula that's going to have us get a certain outcome. So part of this is, am I doing this for a specific outcome, or am I doing this to be in flow?
yeah,
That's
exactly.
right.
Yeah,
So that's the
there's,
flow versus the firm grip.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, yeah. No, I know. Yeah, exactly. I had a situation today where I kind of got like frustrated with somebody that I've never met in my industry, and it was crazy. And I left and I pissed her off, and I was pissed, and I'm like, oh my God, what did I do? But she was in the wrong. But she looked at me as I was in the wrong. It's again, you're in sales, you're very territorial. And when someone breaks your area, of respect, especially when you're in my industry, and I took it home with me. I'm still feeling it. And it's like this person totally crossed the line, and I still feel bad about the way I reacted to her. But she does, you know what I mean? It's just, yeah, there's always something. Again, I don't want to get too deep into it because I know this is being recorded, and I don't want to, like, there's so many things I can say on this. And yeah, but I
Yeah,
feel like I'm learning more on all of it.
we
Yeah.
could talk offline, but
Yes.
the point that I would love for everyone else listening is that it's a great example of somebody said something, did something,
Yes.
and we heard it, took it maybe the way that they intended, maybe not.
Yeah.
In that moment, we responded in a certain way that maybe
Yes.
we would want to change, right? And
Yeah.
and there's nothing wrong. That's just being human. However,
Yeah.
part of this conversation is recognizing, one, everybody else, well, most people are not having this conversation. And second, everybody else is out for themselves. They're holding grip, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so if we're not holding grip, and if somebody comes to us and says X, Y, or Z, if we're in a non-threatened state that we know there's abundance to go around for everybody, right?
Yes.
There's enough, enough people in the world that are going to buy whatever, right? And we deal with this all the time when I post online, right? And
Yeah.
all the time I see people taking things, like everybody's kind of copying each other, right? And sometimes
Yeah.
I get territorial. I'm like, that's my idea. Why are you touching that, right?
Yeah.
Or somebody
Yeah.
that I know that follows what I do.
Yeah.
But then I have to dig deep and be like, you know what? That's okay, because they may attract one person. I'm going to attract the people that are right to me.
Yes.
And
Yes.
then once I do that, I loosen that grip.
Yeah.
So it allows
Exactly.
me to not be reactive, but gets me back in my flow.
Yeah.
Not
Exactly.
even, so not even like your situation, we don't know about what happened and like that whole thing. But for
Yeah.
everybody listening, you're going to have catalysts in your day. And somebody is going to come at you, somebody's going to do something because they're on their own agenda and
Hmm.
they have their own perspective on how things should go. However, it doesn't mean that you need to perceive it as a threat.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. No, again, it was fine. But, and I talked to the customer later. He called me and I was like, what the hell was that? He's like, oh my God. Yeah, it was just, yeah. But I don't like to be in those situations. So just, everybody just wants to be happy, right? But you
Yep.
always, but you have these temptations of these situations that will always arise. It's just, I guess, the way you handle it. So, but yeah.
Yeah, it's standing in the look, there are times where you need to lay the law down, right? That's not what I'm saying. However, if
Yeah.
we want to stand in this abundance and this frequency of a higher vibration, then anything that's going to drop our energy into getting frustrated, getting angry, getting defensive, getting people pleasing,
Hmm.
overcompensating, over explaining, all those negative lower vibrations,
Yes.
we need to do whatever it takes to not fall below that bar.
Exactly, exactly. And she was totally wrong, but
Uh,
I still felt bad because that's just who I am. Yeah, exactly. So, and maybe I shouldn't say it like that. But
Yeah.
you're like, wait. But oh, yeah,
Did you see
later
the,
on when
the look?
yeah, I look on your face. But like, if you know the industry that we're in and
Oh,
how
shut
the person in the store doing their work, when another
up.
person walks in, you immediately, the gracious way of our industry is that you step back, you see, oh, there's a rep in here, and you don't approach. But there's a lot of people that just cross over when you're doing your thing, and it's not okay. And
Mhm.
sometimes I just get more angry than others, but or I just basically call them out. But it's, again, and especially with somebody that's been in the industry long enough to know better. So it's like, shame on you, but it's all the way you handle it. And again, we're not perfect, but you're right. Exactly.
Yeah, because then it puts you in I'm right, you're wrong, and that energy is not a good one either.
No, exactly. And it wasn't, but again, yeah, like if someone
Yeah,
cuts you off, it's like, wait, like, oh my gosh,
yeah,
it's just the same kind of concept. And yeah, exactly. But
yeah.
so sorry. I know I'm a work in progress.
No, not at all. No, not at all. I commend you for even bringing that up, right? Because we all have that. We all have similar situations.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you have your job, people waiting in line. Same thing. You could be at the pharmacy or at the store, and then someone just cuts in front of you. It's just like it's the same kind of knee-jerk reaction.
Yeah.
And it's just one of those things where you're like, do you say something or do you not? And then if you say something, then you're, again, she came back at me like I was doing something wrong.
Yeah.
And it even made me more upset. So, and then I just kind of shut her down and just pretended she wasn't there, because that's the way I was protecting myself.
Mhm.
And my customer actually flowed with me and it respected that. But I still felt bad because
If you could do it again, what would you do?
I would have walked over calmly and said, "Excuse me, I'm still finishing up with him," instead of her just walking into the conversation and doing her thing and then me kind of reacting. Like, I could have just been, "Hey, excuse me, I'm not finished. Can you give me a minute?"
Mhm.
And that's exactly the way I should have handled it. Um, but again, I can't respond to the way she was feeling. She saw me come in, she saw me there, and she just neglected to even accept the fact that I was, which is why I reacted. But if I would have just walked over simply and said, it walked over calmly. And again, it was never a heated situation. I just kind of took ownership of it. And then she ended up, like, when I was walking out, she goes, that was totally uncalled for. And again, I just was leaving. And again, like, she overstepped her boundaries, and I called her out in it. But there would have been, I mean, if I would have handled it a little bit differently, and handle it the way I just explained and just said, excuse me, I'm still working with him. Could you give us a minute? That
Mhm.
would have been the better solution. And I can honestly say that.
And so so this is the thing. This is the gift. The gift
Yeah.
is you've gone through that. So the next time, should that ever happen to you,
And
in
it will.
in
It will.
yeah, in that moment, right? Are you will have muscle memory,
I will. Thank
right?
you. Yeah, I will. I will. I will, because we talked about it and I'm processing it because, yes.
Yeah. And our
Yeah.
subconscious remembers, even if
Yes.
we don't pay attention. So it's a matter of, I'm not saying anybody needs to be a pushover. Having
Hmm.
the boundaries is actually what we want.
Yeah.
And we want to be able to
It's 8 o'clock.
be treated fairly and all of that. Um, and we also want to do it in alignment with our energy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So
Perfect.
don't, so part of the conversation then is like when we make a mistake, we're human, we're going to do it. Or if maybe we've done something and we wish we did it differently, maybe it's not even a mistake, but maybe we would want to handle it differently or say something differently or, part of it is just forgiveness. Know that we'll do better next time. We did the best that we could in the moment that we did it. And
Exactly.
and then
Yeah.
we move on. There's
Exactly. Yeah, because it definitely carried over for me. She thought about it after. I'm sure, again, I needed to carry that into my ride home and to my end of my date. And I'm talking about it now. Like, yeah. So, point taken. Yeah, exactly.
And so the thing is too, and this is a great example of like when things keep replaying for us, it just means that we're not over it yet.
Yes,
So
exactly.
like and part of this conversation that we're going to be having is like, okay, how do we find peace within ourselves so that way we're not putting out, insane, crazy anxiety energy out there because if it's a mirror, then that's what we're going to get back.
Perfect. Yes,
Right?
absolutely. Yes, absolutely.
Strong work. Strong work.
All
Awesome.
right. Yay.
Okay. So we're going to meet again next week, 7 o'clock. Come prepared with your wins of the week. We're going to talk about that. Come prepared also to chat about maybe what didn't work so well for you guys. I promise I will get everything out to everybody by the end of this week. As I meet with you, I will download all the things into your portal. And you need anything at all, I'm available on Telegram. There's a private channel. It's completely private. Nobody sees it except for us. So come on in. Let's have a conversation as your week goes on. Let's have you be empowered. Let's have you be in action. And let's definitely have you be loose grips. We want to have this flow and not force the outcome. So thank you all so much for being here tonight. I love you all and see you next week. Bye.